Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Reiser. The judge overseeing Donald Trump's so-called hush money case has partially lifted the gag order, limiting what the former president could say about the trial. The ruling means Trump can speak about the jury as well as witnesses who were called to the stand during the criminal trial. However, Trump is still limited in his ability to comment on prosecutors as well as court staff and cannot reveal the identities of jurors. CBS News legal contributor Rebecca Roife joins us now. So, Rebecca, why does the judge agree there still needs to be a partial gag order?
There are two justifications for the gag order initially. The first justification is that, sometimes it's okay to limit somebody's speech as long as it's necessary to ensure that witnesses' testimony is not affected. So that obviously no longer pertains because the trial itself is over. But the second justification for limiting somebody's speech is about threats or danger, and that remains. So the judge's reasoning here is that it is no longer necessary or even valid to limit Trump's speech when it comes to those witnesses. He can criticize them as much as he wants. He can even criticize the jurors, but he cannot give identifying information about the jurors. And he cannot go after court staff or prosecutors because that danger still remains up and through, at least through that sentencing.
And why would all sides agree to witnesses specifically being exempt?
From the gag order. So witnesses are no longer covered by the gag order because the justification, again, for preventing the former president from speaking about those witnesses is that he could have potentially affected their testimony, made them worried or made them intimidated such that they changed what they were going to say or they altered the way in which they said it in court. Obviously, that is no longer an issue anymore because the trial is over. And so it is no longer justified to limit his speech in that particular way.
And in his order, the judge writes that this order, as we've been talking about, was to protect the judicial proceedings. But he continues by saying the threats to the integrity of the judicial proceedings are no longer limited to the swaying of minds, but also to the willingness of individuals, both private and public, to perform their lawful duty before this court. What does he mean by that?
What he means is that the increase in threats, the violence that and threats that could potentially come from the former president's words can intimidate people and make them afraid to participate in the proceedings or participate in future proceedings. That this is a different kind of justification. It still relates to the integrity of our judicial process, but it's a different kind of justification. It's not that, oh, now we would have witnesses who are lying, but rather we would have court staff who would be unwilling, unable to participate out of fear. And so the gag order is still necessary in order to ensure that these proceedings go on and that these people aren't afraid of participating in a way that is necessary given the ongoing nature of these court cases.
You mentioned sentencing scheduled for July 11th. How do you think that will impact this gag order?
Well, it was a little bit unclear from the proceedings about and from the order about whether or not these the gag order could last even beyond the sentencing. But it's possible. Normally, gag orders really do end. Normally, they end even with the trial. But the situation here is quite different. And so I anticipate that the judge will lift the order entirely after that sentencing. But I suppose there is a possibility that if the judge considers and is concerned about those court personnel and their willingness to participate in an ongoing way throughout the appeal, that he could extend it. Although, again, that would be very, very unusual given that the fact that, even then it becomes sort of part of a different court's jurisdiction once the appeal has been filed.
Gotcha. Okay, Rebecca Roife, thank you.